This experiment was shut down after just a few days because people forgot it was an experiment. In 1971, a group of ordinary college students agreed to take part in what they believed was a harmless psychology study. 6 days later, it was shut down, not because it failed, but because it worked too well. What happened in a basement at Stanford University would permanently change how we think about power, authority, and human behavior. But the real story is far more disturbing than most people were ever told. That summer, an advertisement appeared in local newspapers. Male college students needed for a psychological study of prison life. $15 per day, 1 to 2 weeks. 75 young men responded. Professor Philip Zimbardo and his team weren't searching for criminals. They weren't looking for violent men or unstable personalities. They wanted something very specific. Ordinary people. Every volunteer was screened. Psychological tests, background checks, interviews. From the 75, they selected 24 of the most emotionally stable, well-adjusted young men they could find. Then, with a simple flip of a coin, everything changed. Half were assigned to be guards. Half became prisoners. No personality testing. No leadership assessment. No psychological profiling. Just chance. The basement of Stanford's psychology department was transformed into a prison. Small rooms became cells. A narrow hallway became a prison yard. A storage closet became solitary confinement. To the participants, this felt like role-playing. A controlled simulation. 2 weeks of easy money. But the researchers wanted realism. They consulted former prisoners. They coordinated with the Palo Alto Police Department. And on the morning the experiment began, real police cars pulled up to the prisoners' homes. Real officers. Real handcuffs. Real arrests. The students were taken to an actual police station. Fingerprinted. Photographed. Booked. Only then were they delivered to Stanford. They were stripped, searched, sprayed with delousing powder, given smocks with numbers instead of names. Heavy chains were locked around their ankles. Their identities were gone. The guards, meanwhile, were given khaki uniforms, wooden batons, and mirrored sunglasses that hid their eyes and their emotions. Zimbardo himself assumed the role of prison superintendent. The experiment was designed to last 14 days. It lasted 6. At first, everything felt awkward. The guards hesitated. The prisoners were uneasy but cooperative. Everyone still knew this was just an experiment. But by the end of the first day, something shifted. The guards began asserting authority. Calmly, quietly, firmly. Rules were established. The prisoners obeyed. Then came day 2. In the early hours of the morning, the prisoners rebelled. They ripped off their numbers, pushed beds against the cell doors, refused orders. The response was immediate. Fire extinguishers blasted freezing carbon dioxide through the bars. Guards stormed the cells. Prisoners were dragged out, stripped naked, and punished. Beds were taken away. A privileged cell was created for those who cooperated. The rest were isolated. The goal wasn't physical pain. It was psychological pressure. Divide them, break trust, turn them against each other. It worked. Within hours, solidarity collapsed. Suspicion replaced unity. Punishments escalated. Push-ups became routine, with guards pressing their boots into prisoners' backs. Bathroom access was taken away. Buckets of waste were left inside the cells. Sleep was disrupted with random nighttime counts that could last for hours. Some prisoners were forced to scrub toilets with their bare hands. Others were locked in solitary spaces so small they couldn't fully stretch their arms. What made this terrifying wasn't chaos. It was control. The guards were calm, creative, organized. They weren't losing control. They were learning how much power they had. And the prisoners were breaking. 36 hours in, prisoner 8612 collapsed. He screamed, sobbed uncontrollably. His thoughts became scattered. At first, the researchers suspected an act. It wasn't. He was released. Others followed. One developed a severe stress rash that spread across his body. Another refused to eat and was placed in solitary confinement. The guards gave the remaining prisoners a choice. Give up your blankets to free him, or leave him there. They kept their blankets. By day 4, multiple prisoners had been removed due to severe psychological distress. Those who remained showed something even more unsettling than breakdown. They showed surrender. They stopped resisting, stopped questioning. They accepted their numbers as their identities. They accepted the abuse as normal. The prison was no longer physical. It was mental. And this loss of perspective wasn't limited to the prisoners. When parents visited, Zimbardo worried about complaints, not about ethics, but about interruptions to the study. He was no longer acting like a neutral scientist. He had become part of the system. Over 6 days, nearly 50 people entered that basement. Researchers, assistants, observers. Most saw what was happening. Only one objected. Her name was Christina Maslach, a psychology graduate student, and Zimbardo's girlfriend. When she saw prisoners being humiliated, marched around with bags over their heads, she was horrified. She confronted him directly. What you're doing to those boys is wrong. That moment shattered the illusion. The experiment ended that night. When the results were published, the conclusion was powerful. Situations override personality. Unchecked power corrupts. Ordinary people can become cruel when systems allow it. For decades, this interpretation shaped psychology, education, and criminal justice. But years later, cracks appeared. In 2018, French researcher Thibault Le Texier gained access to Zimbardo's original recordings and notes. What he found changed everything. The guards weren't just observed. They were instructed. Zimbardo had told them to create fear, frustration, and powerlessness. One of the most abusive guards later admitted he was acting, copying behavior from a movie because he believed that's what the experiment expected. And here's the detail most people never hear. Only about 1/3 of the guards were abusive. Another third enforced rules without cruelty. The final third showed compassion, offering support, bending rules, trying to reduce harm. If the environment alone dictated behavior, why didn't it dictate everyone? The prisoners varied too. Some collapsed. Some resisted. Some stayed mentally strong. One participant later admitted he faked a breakdown to leave early and study for exams. The study involved just 24 men. All were college students from the same region in 1971. Yet its conclusions were treated as universal truths about human nature. By modern ethical standards, the experiment would never be approved. Participants weren't fully informed. Psychological harm occurred. Consent was compromised. Zimbardo wasn't just observing. He was participating. The experiment was never successfully replicated. In 2002, a similar study conducted by the BBC produced the opposite outcome. Prisoners organized, challenged authority, and dismantled the hierarchy. So what really happened in that Stanford basement? The answer isn't simple. Yes, environments matter. Yes, power without accountability is dangerous. But they don't erase choice. 2/3 of the guards refused to become abusers. That isn't a detail. It's the point. The real lesson isn't that situations control us. It's that situations test us. We are shaped by our environment, but we are not defined by it. The Stanford Prison Experiment didn't reveal a final truth about human nature. It revealed the danger of simple explanations and the frightening ease with which authority can silence conscience. 50 people witnessed abuse in that basement. Only one spoke up. That may be the most important result of all. So the question remains, did the Stanford Prison Experiment expose human nature? Or did it manufacture the cruelty it claimed to study?